We're on the phone today with Kevin Eastman. He is the co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Kevin, how you doing today?
Hey, Dustin. Great to be here talking with you. So this is great. Happy Saturday.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. It's an honor.
Thank you. Oh, appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, Kevin, I know it's been almost 40 years since the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were created, and these days you're back kind of where it all started, working on the new Turtles comics. Can you tell the listeners a bit about the new books you've been working on?
Sure. What's fun is, over the years, even though it's been 40 years, there's been, the intensity of what Pete and I did in the early days, working on all things Turtles for probably the first 20 to 25 years through comics and cartoons and the movies and all those things. And then there's been peaks and valleys where we sort of worked on them a little bit more, worked on them a little bit less. And then in 2011, the Turtles had been sold to Viacom. Pete retired, and then I started working with a company called IDW Publishing in San Diego, who were launching a new Turtle series. And just was a perfect timing. I could not wait to get back into working with especially some of the younger people on the new series. And we hoped it might go for, 8, 10, 12 issues. 100 issues later, we were still having an absolute blast doing Turtle stories, which led into a retelling of a story that Pete and I wrote in '87 called The Last Ronin, which was received beyond even our most highest expectations. And that's led into a new series called Last Ronin Lost Years, which is a sequel to the series, which has just been an absolute blast, not only to do it, but reconnect with a lot of the original fans of the Mirage comic books, but also some of the new fans that have discovered the Turtles since. So it's been a real joy.
Yeah, that is amazing. After all this time, the Turtles are still as popular as ever. And, there were peaks and valleys, I guess, but the Turtles, they've always kind of been here in one form or another, it seems.
It's really quite humbling, and I mean that sincerely, in that, because you never know. There's things that, probably you and I liked as a young person, that, fads and things that came and went and faded away and never to return, and some of them have. But the fact that, characters that, we grew up on, or I grew up on, certainly things like, Batman and, a lot of the Marvel Universe, Captain America and things that I love, they're still here and still resonating with audiences. And the fact that the Turtles is, even remotely considered to be in that camp, if you will, where it's 40 years later and we're still connecting with fans and still telling stories that bring new audiences in is holy smokes. It's quite I guess I use the word a lot, but I say humbling. It's really quite a wonderful thing, because I am living the childhood dream. I grew up wanting to follow in the footsteps of Jack Kirby and write and draw and tell my own comic stories, same as Peter. And the fact that here I am 40 years later, still drawing comics, and especially Turtles, is just the greatest gift.
Yeah, it basically went from black and white comics to global phenomenon, and 5 years or less there. How involved were you and Peter with the cartoons and the toys and all the licensing? Did you guys have a say in all of that? Because that's a lot for two guys to handle.
No, and that was we did. We had complete say in everything, because we. I mentioned Jack Kirby a lot, and there were a number of other just giants that we stand on the shoulders of back in our industry in the day, that when you worked for a larger company, in most cases, that company owned all rights. It was work for hire. So, things like Thor and Captain America and, so many things that Jack Kirby had a major hand, either created or co-created. He never had any control or say or even profited from those characters. So when Peter and I were lucky enough to self-publish the Turtles, and we had control and full ownership of our characters, that we were very, very guarded of the rights. So we said from early on, any discussions, that we would have full approval, full say, full involvement over every toy, cartoon. There was, from 1986 to the first 20 years, the world didn't see anything with a turtle on it unless Peter and I had some direct say or approval, or were involved in the process. And that was important to us to not only represent the legacy of the gift that we were given, to have that kind of control over our characters, but to respect the elders who paved the way for us to be able to do that. So yeah, we were involved in everything: 300 cartoon shows, 3 live-action movies, all the toys. You name it, we had a part in it.
That's awesome. There definitely was a lot of Turtles merchandise. And I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on some of the music that came out of the Turtles universe. The Coming Out of Our Shells, the Christmas album and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a certain charm that stuff had that maybe can't exist nowadays. No,
I could not agree more. And I feel like, it really started with and kicked off with that very first Turtle movie. We had guys like MC Hammer. Before he was MC Hammer, I think it was right around the time that he was breaking. He did an original song. There's another awesome band called Partners in Crime who did a great Turtle theme song for that movie. Kid Yake. It's just a list of people that provided music, as well as John Dupree, who did the original score for all 3 of the original Turtle movies. It was great, and that led to things like the Turtles musical tour, stage tour, which was pretty fantastic. In that, we again were involved in it. They came up, the producers came up and played us the music, showed us the song that they wanted to do, and we approved the whole thing. And it was much like Disney on Ice or Barney Live or other young children's event stage shows. That it was a traveling tour that was on Turtles, and so we thought it was a lot of fun. The music was written specifically with it wasn't just throwaway songs. It was written as part of the musical score, as part of the like you would a stage play. But yeah, we loved all that stuff. It was really to see cross over to so many of those areas that we never, even in our wildest dreams, could have and never would have imagined a Turtles live stage show ever. And the fact that it happened, and it was quite good. We're very lucky and very proud.
And Kevin, I know you have a lot of comic conventions coming up this year, and that's got to be great for you to see the impact that you've had on not just the fans, but all the other comic book creators who are on the scene now. You're kind of like Jack Kirby to a lot of the people out there now, I imagine.
I'm definitely the old man on tour, but I love it in that the early days of the Turtles. Pete and I would do a lot of these events as part of our promotional stuff, which is getting the word out there and supporting a new comic or a new movie or things like that. But then these days I took a time off, especially when our son was very young. But about 8 years ago, we went back on tour, and it was just a great opportunity to visit, rekindle relationships with so many of the original fans, thank them in person, because new Turtle comics were selling and new Turtle toys were selling, and there was new cartoons on the air, and it was it brought back a lot of the original fans, plus in some cases, and in a lot of cases, their children. So it's just wonderful to thank them in person, but also I get such incredible energy from hearing those stories of hey, I wore the Turtles Halloween costume for 3 years in a row, or I still have my dog-eared chewed up turtle toy I had when I was 6, and could you sign it and stuff like that. It really is it's just quite a heartwarming experience. I really enjoy that, and like I said, get to thank him in person for giving me such a great life.
Excellent. Kevin, again, thank you so much for your time. You've had a major impact on my life, as you have many others, and it's been an honor speaking with you today. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Dustin. You have a good rest of your weekend, and let's talk again one time.
All right, I hope so. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
And again, that was the one and only Kevin Eastman, the creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Visit his website, fan.kevineastmanstudios.com, to find out what he's up to nowadays. The brand new Ninja Turtles comics coming up, and he's also at a lot of conventions this year as well.